Killer Clowns game has come out. Have you seen it?
I
Heard
think
about
so.
it? Yeah.
Um, I haven't like checked it out or anything, but
hmm 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 You are
yeah.
a fan of this movie, so you'd be keen to check out the game?
Uh, yeah. I mean, just watching someone like, if it's someone that I like watching their streams or something and
Okay,
they were
yeah, sure,
playing
sure,
it, then
sure.
sure. But I
Yeah.
don't think I would actively look at like seek it out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I'd rather seek out the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and
Mm.
Cyberpunk as well,
Oh,
because I
yes.
want to play that as well.
Yes.
Um,
It's yeah, it's
mm,
worth it's abs Cyberpunk is absolutely worth it now because all
hmm
of the fixes to it and all that, and then also the DLC, Phantom Liberty, is absolutely incredible as well. So the game now, how it is now versus what it looked like at launch, completely different.
That's cool.
And I played it at launch. So
Okay. 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 Are you a like cyberpunk literature fan? William
um
Gibson, Neuromancer,
not
etc.
really, not really.
Okay.
Like I know of
hmm
stuff, but
hmm
like I haven't really sort of like delved too deep into it because I think it's more I just like the aesthetic. I think the
Of
aesthetic is cool.
the
It's like
game, yeah.
yeah, like
Mm.
cyberpunk and yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. It's a very modern,
Mm,
contemporary, whatever
yeah.
version of the cyberpunk aesthetic as it has
Yes. Yeah.
changed throughout the
Yeah.
decades. Of course, it doesn't look like Blade Runner. That's fair to say, the
No.
game. Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah. But no, it's cool. It's cool. I definitely want to check it out because I am
Yeah.
a fan, and I'm glad cyberpunk is continuing to this day. But we're not here
Yeah.
to talk about
No.
cyberpunk children. No,
I mean, there's
we
some, there's some, there's some in the game Cyberpunk. There's some good
Hmm.
horror moments and some
Is there?
stuff that's a bit fucked up. There's some fucked up
Okay.
stuff in there because like it's cyberpunk and like so
As it
it's a
should be. Yeah,
dystopia.
as it
It's really
should be.
fucked
Yeah,
up. A
yeah.
lot of it, if you think about it, for more than 2 seconds, like, oh my God, this is actually fucked up. But there's some like side quests that are
hmm
really quite dark.
hmm
So,
hmm hmm Yeah, as it should be. It's a dystopian
mm,
society. It's cyberpunk. It's meant to be fucked up, as
yeah.
this movie is fucked up. Yes, we were talking about the
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre game because we're covering the goddamn movie, the original.
Yes.
Yes, the one and only. Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying that nothing comes close, but nothing is like this movie.
No,
This movie is
absolutely not.
still very unique to this day. The remakes have tried. Some have
Mm,
done better than others, but it's not
yeah.
touched on the insanity nor the commentary of this
Mm,
film, which I've picked up
yeah.
on this viewing, on this rewatch. Yeah, hello, Dorian. How are you? Say hello to the children.
Hello, children.
Yes, it's Tobe Hooper's 1974 classic. In my opinion, the birth of modern horror, 1974. Yeah. And yeah, I still love this film, Dorian. It's improved, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's improved with time.
Mm,
More depth, more nuance has revealed itself to me
yeah.
after watching it again this week. Yeah, no, it still blows me away. Yeah. What do you think of this movie and what's your history with it?
Uh, um, I mean, I think the movie it's so iconic. Like there's so many things, horror stuff that we wouldn't have if it weren't for this movie.
Yeah,
And
undoubtedly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And but like for me, it took me a while to get around to watching it because I'm like, oh, its reputation, how how it is with people like, oh, a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you have this assumption in your head as
Uh-huh.
to what
Uh-huh.
kind of movie it's gonna be.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, is that it? Okay, that's fine then, no worries.
Uh-huh.
And then I
It's
felt really
interesting.
stupid. But that was me for a lot of those stuff that is essentially on this tier that we're
Mhm.
covering.
Tier two,
Um,
that is,
yeah,
children.
yeah.
Yes.
When I first started getting into horror and all of those kinds of ones, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna go with these ones because just from what I've heard of these movies, and
Mhm.
the kind of movie that they
Mhm.
are, and I haven't watched that kind of stuff before. I don't know what, and
Uh-huh.
then I get around to watching them, and I'm like, these are cool. I love this. I feel really stupid for putting it off for so long.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. It is interesting about this film, though, that a lot of people are hesitant or
Mm,
go into it expecting it's going to be a lot more gory
yeah,
than it actually is,
yeah,
because the real clever thing about it is there's barely any gore, let alone
yeah,
blood, really.
yeah.
Certainly not compared to nowadays, but it's
Mm,
just as effective as a gore-filled
yeah,
slasher that was released today. Yeah, in
yeah.
terms
It's
of
just, yeah,
brutality. Yeah.
yeah. Because all that it is it's just using clever camera angles to,
Hmm.
you set up what it is that is about to happen to this person, but
Hmm.
it isn't shown. Like the actual like thing that happens to them is never shown on screen, but you know exactly what it is that's just happened. And so it's in your head. In the same way that like the reason
Yeah.
why Jaws was so effective
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Yeah.
because you didn't see the shark,
Ah.
partially because that shark animatronic that they had didn't work properly.
No,
So
it
they
didn't.
didn't have much of a choice.
It just flopped
And
around
it's a
on the boat
happy
at the end.
accident, happy
Yeah,
accident
yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't accidental. This is intentional, though,
No, intentional.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because you don't need the gore and the blood, because the
Mm,
context of what is happening and the
yeah.
hysteria of all the characters involved sends you goddamn
Mm,
crazy by the end of it. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the shocking nature of this.
Yeah.
Is what
Especially
these.
towards the end, just the non-stop screaming.
Yeah, the screaming's a lot.
Like,
The
oh my
screaming is a hell
God.
of a lot. I did a in New Zealand at a digital
Mm,
post-production school
yeah.
course I was doing. I did a horror montage for a friend just to be played on an overhead
Yeah.
projector whilst they were performing some sort of
Mm.
electronic noise thing.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I just looped a whole lot of horror movies. So of course I
Mm,
had screaming going on for
mm.
about 9 hours one day at school until one guy just comes out, Gene, knock it the fuck out. Stop it. There's been screaming for 3 hours. Can you just give it a break a second? And the majority of it does come from Sully. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Marilyn Burns.
Marilyn Burns, yeah.
Yes, yes. Uh, I had a point before. That's okay. Yeah, so it's all done through editing. It's all
Mm.
done through clever camera angles, timing, the context of the scenario, and the
Yeah.
reaction of the characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much in a nutshell. That gives it its horror. So yeah, so it's, and I watched out for that. I watched out for all the camera angles. They're
Mm.
really well done,
Yeah.
and sound
Yeah.
design plays
Mm.
a big part of it. But I was going, yeah, there's no gore there, there's no blood there when there should
Yeah.
be, but it's still effective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Tobe Hooper, are you a fan of his in general? Would you say he is the director of this movie?
Yeah. Let's see. What stuff has he done
Yeah,
recently?
sure. Well, he did Texas Chain. He did the second one.
Mm,
He did direct the second one. Did you like the
yeah.
second one?
Yeah, because like that one's an intentionally like ridiculous 80s pastiche type thing. Like
Absolutely.
that's the intent, and that's why it's so ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So
Um,
yeah, that one's so fun. And I mean, Bill Moseley is Chop Top, incredible.
yeah. Um,
Um,
wasn't Gunnar Hansen, who you can see behind me there,
mm,
children, on my screen, for those watching on YouTube. To the left is Gunnar himself. He is an Icelandic author and actor. Rest in peace as well. He was a travel writer. Thanks, shout out to John Waters for that piece of information. And there he is as the OG Leatherface.
yeah.
Yeah. And he wasn't actually called Leatherface in this movie. I don't know when it came along in the
No,
franchise.
he gets referred to as Leatherface in the movie.
Does he wear? When?
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. I think it's but one
Are
of
you
them, one of the family.
are
I
you
can't remember
sure?
who. Yes, because
Okay.
when I watched it today, I'm there like, oh, they've
Okay.
actually referred to him as
Oh, they
Leatherface.
do. They do. I
Yeah,
didn't think they
they
did.
refer
I
to him
thought it
as
was a
Leatherface.
Jason-like
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, okay.
No.
All right, cool. Um, yeah, rest in peace to Gunner. Yeah,
Mm,
point being.
yeah.
So the rest of there's Toby Hooper, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, that came out in 1986. Of course, he did Poltergeist in
Yeah.
1982 with Steven Spielberg. But what else is Jin's quite cool. I remember watching that
Yeah.
in 2013. Spontaneous
Mm.
Combustion freaked me out as a kid.
Mhm.
There's the one he did with Robert Englund later on as part of Masters of Horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, their addition to that series. Yeah, no, he's good. He's always wacky. He's always kooky.
Yeah.
He's always quite over
Yeah.
the top with his stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I
the
think,
Mangler,
yeah, I
the
haven't seen that.
Mangler
That's
is
with
one that
Robert as
Robert
well. Yeah,
Englund in it. Yeah.
yeah.
That's in an it's a 90s movie, so it's that kind of tech, but it's an industrial laundry that takes place in.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and it's
Interesting.
yeah, and one of the machines is nicknamed the Mangler because various
Uh,
different accidents that are happening. And
uh-huh.
there's
That's
strange
hilarious.
like cult things, as in like they are intentionally feeding victims to this machine. And it's crazy. Like it's if you want
Hmm.
some wacky Tobe Hooper stuff with Robert Englund as like the villain, the Mangler, check that one out.
Always, always. And it's based on a Stephen King short story from 1972 of the same name. It appeared in his short story collection, Night Shift.
Mm.
Huh. Interesting.
Mm.
Tobey and Robert, they have quite a career together as well because there was also Night Terrors, which was his Marquis de Sade film. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked that one, definitely. I am a fan of Tobey Hooper. He's probably my favorite. Oh, Carpenter's not really a B grade horror director. No, you can't
No,
really
no.
class him as that. So I would class Tobey Hooper as pretty much my
Yeah.
B grade favorite director. Yeah, of
Mm.
B grade films,
Yeah.
horror or otherwise,
Yeah.
because he did a lot of science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
What else? What
did,
else?
yeah, he did The
Hmm?
Fun House.
Don't know that one. What's that?
Yeah, it's in a, you know, carnival, crazy carnies. Some teens get trapped in a fun house.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He
I
was
like
one of
the
the
sound of
directors
that.
in Body Bags,
Okay.
because that's an anthology one with three
Huh.
films, three stories in it. And
Okay.
yeah, he's one of the directors. It's yeah,
I have not heard of that one. Thank you.
yeah. And John Carpenter's like the person doing the kind of wraparound storyline, kind of like the Crypt
Oh,
Keeper from Tales from the
yeah, yeah,
Crypt kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
He's this like
That's cool.
kind of crazy looking like coroner who just is there
Mhm.
just swigging straight formaldehyde. He's basically, here's these like dead bodies, the body bags have come in, and he's like, here's their story. And yeah, and that's John Carpenter who's playing him.
Cool. Cool. I did. Yeah, that's wicked. That's
Yeah.
wicked. Old John, old mate. He's got a new album out. Check it out. It's pretty good.
Oh, I love his music.
So do I. I like synthwave, and
Stuff
he's
is
one of the
so good.
best.
Yeah.
He's one of the best at it.
Yeah.
It was born out of necessity, and he's
Yeah.
become really good at it. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
great. Um, yeah, my history of this film. When did I first watch this? It was a while ago. It was in the 90s sometimes.
Mm.
I've seen it a bunch of times, but there's always, do you find there's always stuff to find upon rewatching?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Like I discovered he was actually referred to as Leatherface, and I haven't heard
Mm.
that before. But
Yeah.
there's all these other weird images, like before she wakes up
Mm.
to the Mad Hatter meat scene,
Yeah.
Mad Hatter meat family scene. I never clocked the chicken face looking at her before.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
before she sees the
Yeah.
family, there's this fucking
Mm.
chicken head on a lathe or something it's attached
Yeah.
to, staring straight at it. I haven't seen that before. And other things like, is Leatherface making the animal sounds, the pig squealing
Yeah, I
that
don't
brings
know.
them in and out of the
Maybe.
house? Yeah, I reckon it is.
Maybe.
Because
Yeah.
there's no other shots
Because
of
it,
any
yeah.
alive animals
Mm.
roaming around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
those vicinities, just shit like that, shit like that.
Mm.
Um, this movie is, you could call it a horror. It's just a slasher.
A
Not really.
proto slasher, I would say.
Thank you, prototype slasher.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's very simple on its surface, but there's actually a lot
Mm.
going on, a lot of commentary going on.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it is a 1974 American independent horror film produced, co-composed, see, I didn't know that, and directed by Tobe Hooper, who co-wrote it with Kim Henkel. I don't know much about Kim. He is best known for being the co-writer of this movie, though. The film stars Marilyn Burns. And her and Gunnar would be the two famous ones, pretty much,
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
horror lore. Yeah. Paul A. Parton, Edward Neal, he's the hitchhiker. He's kind of a legend of his
Yeah.
own. Jim Sado and Gunnar Hansen. Yes, the plot follows a group of friends who fall victim to a family of cannibals while on the way to visit an old homestead. The film was marketed as being based on true events to attract a wider audience and to act as a subtle commentary on the era's political climate. The big thing, of course, is Vietnam's going on at this time. Yeah. And America's losing. And
Yes.
America doesn't like to lose. It's never gotten over Vietnam to this day. That's
Yeah.
why one of the
Yeah.
reasons it still churns the war machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they got butthurt. Although the character of Leatherface and minor story details were inspired by the crimes, of course, of murderer Ed Gein. Its plot is largely fictional. Yes.
Yeah.
The
A lot of the
production
time,
design is inspired by Ed Gein.
yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time with horror movies, when they say like inspired by true events or whatever, it's basically that, in that they've something in real life that's happened, they've gone, hey, that's something that we could take elements from and use that to create something. And then because it's a horror movie, if you then say that it's inspired by true events or whatever, then it makes it feel more impactful, because like, oh God, like something like this actually happened, when all that it is that it's just, oh yeah, like old mate who did some like cannibalism and some weird shit with human flesh, and that's the only connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And this family, even though they're not called, now I've got this right, yes, they're not called
There's
the
so many different
Sawyer.
versions.
They're
Yeah.
not this. They're not
Depending on the
called the
timeline.
Sawyer. They're
Yeah.
not called the Sawyer family in this,
No.
are they? No,
No.
no.
No, they don't have a surname in this.
No, I just call them the family in
Yeah.
this. And they killed much more people in this film than Ed Gein ever did. Yeah, just to put just for what you're saying in full context there. Yeah. But Ed Gein was inspirational, great artist as well. Of course, horrible, damaged, horrible human being, but a great artist, let's face facts. And his story, coupled with this, you look at Silence of the Lambs, there's another example as well. Psycho is a part of this lineage as well. This movie may have not existed without Psycho as well. I will throw that out there. Some more information. Hooper produced the film for less than $140,000. That's 900,000. That's not even $1 million today, adjusted for inflation. Yeah, this is how grassroots and maggot-based this film is.
Yeah, that's why the set stank terribly, because that wasn't like a creative props department making all that stuff. It was all like real and is in the heat, so everything just stank. And sorry, not sorry, but you just have to put up with it and film this film.
It's shot in Austin, Texas as well, so you've got an incredibly hot, dry heat, which you can see in the film on the actors' faces.
It feels
as well.
hot.
It was
watching
hot.
It.
It was horribly hot for the whole shoot. The dead animals were left inside to rot as well, you know. That's the horror of this film, the actual production of it. As I've alluded to in previous episodes, the actors took 20 years to forgive Tobey for what they were put through. But that the horror of being immersed in that type of environment, it's almost theatrical. The way this film is played out, the way that they prepared for this film, the environment they were immersed in. That's why they were able to create and convey such berserkly insane characterizations. And the dinner scene itself, where it starts getting real choppy and real weird. There's a lot of natural, non-character based hysteria being just vented in this film.
And that scene, there's so many movies that have come after it that they have a similar like dinner table type scene that just makes you go, this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Chainsaw, TCM like, DNA throughout.
So many movies have something that is inspired and influenced by the dinner table scene.
You've seen The Loved Ones, yeah?
Yes,
When he
yes.
wakes up
Love
to the
that movie.
family sitting around the table,
Yes,
it's direct
yes.
homage.
Yeah,
Direct fucking homage. Yeah,
yeah. And
absolutely.
then everything that they're doing feels very Jeffrey Dahmer in terms of what he
Mhm.
did to
Yeah,
people.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. There you go. There you go. We're actually I'm in talk with a friend who I used to podcast with to do another side channel, like side angle gimmick
mm,
for Evil Popcorn. Their children, I'll say it now. It will take a while to get together, but in the future, we're going to be looking at true crime cinema.
oh
So
yeah.
actual movies, TV shows,
Mm,
etc., that are based on, yeah,
yeah.
true crime events or
Yeah.
horrific events.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, we're gonna, I don't know if it is or not, but we're going to be covering Henry Portrait of a Serial
Ah,
Killer.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because we both haven't watched it. My friend hasn't watched
Really? You
it,
haven't?
and I
Ah,
haven't watched it in a while. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's a great film, and I think it will set the
yes.
tone for
Yep.
gritty, grimy, true crime shit.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
That question came up on in Trivial Pursuit that we were playing last night.
What's that?
In that Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It was
Mhm.
essentially like what character, like before he was Merle in The Walking Dead,
Yeah, okay.
what did
So,
Michael Brooker play? You know, what
Brooker,
serial
yeah, no,
killer,
good. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like that
yeah.
was a question.
Okay. And did you get it right? Did anyone else get
Oh,
it right?
I was the one reading the question.
You were reading the question. Okay, okay. All right. Where was I up to? Okay, here's some production information. Used a cast of relatively unknown actors drawn mainly from Central Texas, Austin, where it was shot. Limited budget, forced Hooper to film for long hours. Here we go, 7 days a week, so that he could finish as quickly as possible and reduce equipment rental costs. Again, less than $1 million today. Due to the film's violent content, Hooper struggled to find a distributor, but it's all suggested,
Yeah,
implied in the gutter of the mind.
yeah.
He was ahead of his time, I will
Mm.
say, with this. Hooper struggled to find a distributor, but was eventually acquired by the Bryanston Distributing Company. Cool. Hooper limited the quantity of on-screen gore in hopes of securing a PG rating, but the Motion Picture Association of America rated it R anyways. Interesting. The films faced similar difficulties internationally, being banned in several countries. It was banned here for a
Yeah,
long time, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And numerous theaters stopped showing the film in response to complaint about its
Mm.
violence.
It's always
Yeah.
really fun going through like those lists of movies that were banned in
Mm-hmm.
countries.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
as you go through those kinds of lists, you'll see the same countries popping up over and over and over.
Us a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, us a
There's
lot.
certain like
Fucking.
a lot of the time it's places in Asia as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Philippines. The
Mm,
Philippines. I think. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yeah, well, they have dictators and we have
Mm.
grandparents. Yeah. Where we have a nanny country. Yes. We're told we're
Yeah.
not allowed to watch these things because it might upset us because we're
Mm,
too
yeah.
delicate. We were
Yeah.
founded on fucking criminals. We're a nation
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
convicts.
exactly.
What are you
That's
talking
probably
about?
why.
Yeah, yeah. So we don't get any ideas.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even
Idiots.
like in terms of rating systems for video games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like,
berserk. I've heard about it. I've heard about Fallout and the intravenous drug use.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
thing.
so
Oh, that was a
essentially
no-no.
like yeah, Australian copies of games are essentially censored. I don't know if anything has changed since the last time I heard about it, but for quite some time it was like we didn't even have like an R rating for video games. The highest that it would go to would be MA15. Anything that would be considered rated higher than that would not be allowed to be because it would not be able to be appropriately rated in Australia, and
So
therefore
it
would
can't
not
come
be
in the
allowed
country.
to able to be sold unless you are able to censor it in a way that made it able to be rated MA15.
Berserk, berserk. Um, so almost inadvertently, going off what you're saying,
Mm.
um, with the attempt at censorship that he applied to this film, he actually ended up
It made
making
it worse.
it made it worse.
Yeah.
It made it fucking worse. That's crazy. I'm glad it turned out that way in the end.
Yeah.
So I think it's a much better film, has it turned out to be, rather
Yeah.
than a gore slasher fest. Maybe it was so at the start. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I definitely love the film that we got. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Before we go into plot, franchise, do you know, we've discussed two. We both enjoy two. It's fucking
Yes.
berserk. It's
Yeah.
bananas, but it's lots of fun. What about the others?
Um, so it's got some interesting actors in it because the third one has Viggo
Yeah.
Mortensen in
Yeah, I
it.
know. I started watching it last night. I went,
The
what?
fourth one, the fourth one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, um, gets buckwild by the end. There's like Illuminati conspiracy stuff, but it has Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey in it. And
Okay.
it's an experience.
Okay.
And then yeah,
Right.
like I'm pretty sure I've seen all of the movies.
You have
Yeah,
of this
yeah, I've seen
franchise?
all of them.
Okay.
Like the prequels, the
Okay.
remake, that one that
Uh,
came out the other year. Yeah,
yeah. I've
I've
seen that
seen
one.
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen the 2000 remakes, the Michael
Mm.
Bay produced numbers.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
I went back, I rewatched the first one to prepare
Mm.
for this, the one with, is it Jessica Biel?
Jessica Biel, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that does not stand the test of time, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And then there was, oh God, there was the one that the main character, it turned out that like she was related to them. And then there's this like really cringe line at the end where
Mm.
she says to Leatherface, you know, he's like someone that's like attacking her or whatever. She says to Leatherface as she's like giving him a chainsaw, she's like, do your thing, cuz. Like,
Oh,
you know, because they're
that's
cousins.
that's that's the
Oh,
3D number, isn't it?
yeah. It's so
Yeah.
cringy.
No, I've heard
Oh my
about it.
God.
Fuck, I hate those 3D movies. They were all
Yeah.
so bad. They were
Yeah, and
all
then there was the
so
one,
bad.
yeah, then there was the one that was the prequel that was like, here's this like origin story for Leatherface.
Yeah, that
And
was French, wasn't it? That was like in the 2010s? What's the you know that one in the 2010s? Isn't that just called Leatherface?
yeah,
I might be no, I might be
yeah.
getting confused being French, but yeah, so that was that was a prequel.
Yeah, and oh, that's right. Yeah, Lily Taylor back again. Um,
Okay.
yeah. She's credited as Verna Sawyer, so I assume she's someone's mother. She's the mother. Once again playing a mother character. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Leatherface
she
is
does.
the prequel that came out in 2017.
Okay. What's that one like? I heard mixed reviews.
Um yeah, I mean it's not necessary. We don't need a
Okay.
prequel explaining the origins of Leatherface,
No, of
but
course not.
if
Of
you're a
course not.
completionist and you
Yeah.
want to watch all the movies, then
All right, Miss Completionist, since you have seen them all, is any of the other films necessary besides the first two? Because I think part two is necessary. I
um
think part two is great as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um yeah, not really.
not
Like I
really.
would yeah.
It's a mess of a franchise. Not saying all
Yeah,
the
it
films are
really
bad, but
is.
the way it's
Like,
stitched together is
yeah, yeah,
schizophrenic. Yeah, totally.
yeah. In
Yeah,
the
so
same way that like how the Halloween franchise, because I've tried so many different like reboots and retcons and alternate timelines and all that kind of stuff, the Texas Chainsaw franchise is very much like that as well.
yeah.
Like if you like just the general like crazy family dynamic that
Which I do.
Leatherface has,
Yeah,
you
which I
know,
do.
then yeah, there's some that's worth watching if just for that. But
I watch them all over. I watch them all in time.
yeah,
I'm gonna watch them all
yeah,
in time. Yeah,
yeah.
because
But
completionist a
yeah,
little bit
the
myself.
most, the
And it's
best
horror.
ones
I need to know
is
about them.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, one and two, if you're gonna watch any of the ones in that
Oh
franchise,
yes,
it's 1 and 2.
yes. Children one
Yeah.
and two in sequence, in order. Don't watch two and
Yes.
one because that will just fuck
Yeah.
your world up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But number two is a nice palate cleanser. If you're watching them as a double
Yeah.
feature, you can relax
It's
with number two
yeah.
and
Yeah.
laugh your ass off. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The first one is very set, like in the same way when you had with The Strangers, where you have the first one's very 70s, the second one's very
Mhm.
80s in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of like the
sure.
feel.
There is
The
that.
first
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw is so unbelievably 70s in
Mm,
its feel.
mm.
And
Um,
yeah, the sequel, it's set in the 80s and it very much feels like an 80s movie.
yeah, yeah, it's
It's
lost its
very
mind.
80s. Yeah.
The 70s is just starting to lose its mind because
Mm,
this is the apocalypse for America.
yes.
It's in a
Yeah.
state of depression. Vietnam War is raging. It's in a state of economic depression as well, the closest it actually came
Yeah.
to the Great Depression in
Mm,
America. Yeah, and then like The Hills Have Eyes, there is this separation of class, there's this
yeah.
separation of
Mm,
communities between urban and rural and country,
yeah.
families and towns, cultures, etc. um Tobe Hooper said this movie is a movie about meat. That's his
It
main
is.
quote
It
about
is.
explaining
Yeah.
this movie. This is a movie about
Yes.
meat. And yes, it's very much that as well, which
Yeah.
links into America's consumerism as well,
Mm,
taken to the most grotesque
yeah.
ends, yeah, to the most grotesque limit as
Yeah.
well. Um, there's other interesting things in this that in the family, there's no females except
Yeah.
grandma's corpse
Yeah.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Um, but then I wanted to ask you as well there, Dorian, and not just the opinion of a cis male Gen Xer,
Mm,
yeah. Leatherface in this
mm, yeah.
is almost presented as the female of the household.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, it happens to a more exaggerated degree, especially in the fourth movie, the one with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger, because he's in straight up drag.
Yeah,
He's
he
in
is.
full on drag in that
I've
one.
seen behind the scenes of
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah. But in this first one, um, he has a very like strong masculine presence until the rest of the family is introduced. And then all of a sudden he's relegated to the
Yeah.
more submissive,
Yes,
more
yes.
feminine type character within that
Hmm.
family dynamic. Before that
Hmm.
point,
Hmm.
he's depicted in a very like strong,
Yeah.
violent,
Yeah.
masculine kind of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. We see him as the victims in the van see him
Mm,
up
yeah,
until, the family reunion,
yeah.
shall we say. Yes.
Mm. And then
Um,
he changes his face, and his face is now like
mhm,
he's got some makeup on.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, it's just something that I noticed and that was
Mm,
pointed out to me in various
yeah,
discourses I have listened
mm,
to.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because they are trying to make somewhat of a family unit for themselves and survive as a family. The
yeah,
family in this, they don't think they are the bad guys because they are just
no,
doing what they believe is right to survive. Yes.
yeah,
And
yeah,
once they exist entirely within their own world. So
mm,
they do not conceive of this as the wrong
yeah,
thing to do. No, and
yeah.
they have
And
fun within
they're,
their own
yeah,
world. Yeah.
yeah, and they're like family, because old grandpa, like he used to work in the slaughterhouse. Like
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
know. That's what is
Yes.
normal for them in
Yes.
terms of, like just
Yeah.
getting their meat, killing
Yes.
whatever it is that they need to kill, and like
Yeah.
that's their normal.
Yes, and there is a new way of life coming into
Mm,
America now as well, which is what's the word? This is shown through the discussion about the old way to kill animals in a
yes.
slaughterhouse with a
Versus
sledgehammer
with the
as
bolt
opposed to
gun. Yeah.
the bolt gun. Yeah. The old
Yeah.
way of life to the new way of life.
Yeah.
The family versus the kids in the van. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's
And
that.
then,
There's
yeah.
after you.
And then when they're having that conversation with the hitchhiker and he's there saying, oh no, that new way, it's no good. And because of all that, people are out of jobs. People,
Yeah.
can't work,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
get
Exactly.
work because of this new way that's coming in. And it's not even that good. And
Yeah. Yeah, and the country is at the point of economic collapse,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being slaughtered overseas by
Mm.
half a country, not
Yeah.
North Vietnam. Sorry, North Vietnam, not South Vietnam, by half the
Yeah.
country effectively as well. Yeah, so America's not in a good state.
Mm.
So that's the dichotomy, the
Yeah.
warring dichotomy is shown throughout the scene within the script. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the overall context of where this film is placed or where this action plays itself out. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we go into it? I think that's set the
No.
scene quite
Yeah.
nicely. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so movie opens, credits, strong emphasis on being based on a real
Mm.
story, very strong
Yeah.
evidence like a news reporter, like
I love
Walter
mm,
Conkright reading you the news. Yeah.
yeah, I love that opening just because of like the way the text looks and then
Mm,
also the
mm.
person narrating it and just like the tone of voice and all that. It sounds so sinister already. You
Does.
already feel like I'm
Yeah.
going to witness something really fucked up.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just the opening text. That's
It's
it.
the opening
It's just,
text. Yeah,
oh,
absolutely. Yeah, it sets the mood straight away.
yeah.
As do the flashes brought
Mm,
about by the still photography
yeah.
with the famous flash whirring
Yeah,
sound.
the
You know, the
sound.
that
Yeah. Oh,
whir, I can't do it, but you know
yeah.
the one I mean. Yeah, it's famous as fuck. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's revealing a rotting corpse. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah.
Because
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
a graveyard, it's been discovered that because there's like sounds from like a radio report, like news reports on the radio, and they're talking about how there's essentially been like grave robberies happening and these
Yes.
corpses being
Yes.
mutilated.
Hmm.
And yeah, the photos that are being shown are essentially crime scene photos
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this crime
Yeah.
that's being committed.
Yes. But it's worked in such a way, the
Mm,
photos, and because it's worked in such a way to reveal the photos and then work that into revealing who I've called Frank, who I call every
mm.
fucked up corpse in a suit.
He's always
um,
Frank.
yeah, the decomposing body in a
Mm,
suit wired
yeah,
on top of the graveyard monument. Those two
yeah,
works together and then slowly reveals out.
mm,
And that fucking image, Cannibal
yeah,
Holocaust, you did
yeah.
well. That
And
image
it
is
it
better. That
it
image is
holds on it for a
better.
while as
Yeah, it
well. It
does.
isn't
It
just there
does.
for a couple seconds. It's there
Yeah.
for quite a while that they're staring at it.
Because it's fucked up because there's a
Mm,
skull within
yeah,
Frank's chest while sitting on
yeah,
top of the tombstone and his
yeah.
black. Fuck, it's cool. It is done so fucking well. I love that shit. Now then there's titles on screen. You get
Mm,
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
yeah,
kind of squiggly red. And you're right, the horrific radio news persists because it
mm,
goes from the grave robbing to a whole bunch of other just
yeah,
bad stuff happening in the world. Yeah.
yeah,
And this
yeah.
keeps going when you get the red blurry image on a black background. I'm not sure if they used fire and macroscope. Yeah, and then fucked with the coloring and the
Yeah,
speed of it. I'm not sure.
yeah, maybe.
But it's very creepy and bloody
Mm,
and weird looking,
yes.
like this film. And then the news persists. Then we cut to a yellow sun at night, dissolved to a dead armadillo on the road. Dorian, I didn't know
Yeah,
if it was an armadillo. Then I put armadillo. Then I looked it up and went, yes. I've never
yeah.
seen one in real life, but it's
Yes.
a fucking armadillo.
Really? I haven't
No, are
seen
they
one in
here?
real life because I
Are they
live in
here?
Australia, not
Yeah, they're not here, are
America.
they?
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but I know an armadillo when I see one
Well, I
in a
wasn't sure
piece
if
of
it was
media.
I wasn't sure if it was an aardvark, you see.
Oh no.
Yeah. I wasn't sure
Aardvarks are
between an
very,
armadillo
very different. If you
and
have
an
a look at
aardvark.
what an aardvark looks like, you'll be like, oh, they're clearly very different
Okay,
creatures.
I'll look up at the aardvark
Yes.
after this. But yeah, dead armadillo on the road, and that armadillo appears in many other slasher movies,
Oh
many
yeah.
other horror road movies, that
Mm,
sort of thing. Keep an eye out in the future. This is where it comes from.
yeah.
That's just they're all paying a little homage to TCM. All right, van stops. Franklin is helped out to pee. He's in a wheelchair,
Mm,
children, if you haven't seen
yes.
it. Big truck rolls past, and Franklin
Oh
is
yeah.
sent flying down the hill.
Oh my God. Poor
Okay.
Franklin. He really goes through it in this movie. Like
Yeah.
he's very He's incredibly socially awkward to the point where everyone's just sick of his shit. But like,
Yeah.
he didn't deserve any of that.
No, no, he doesn't deserve what he
My
gets.
God.
He
He really
whinges.
goes through the ringer.
He does whinge though.
He
He
complains a lot, yeah. But
complains.
also, like, his friends are out there, like, all up a bunch of stairs, hanging out,
Yeah,
having
no.
a fun
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. They treat him like shit.
Nothing
They do.
he can do about it in his wheelchair.
They treat him like
Not
shit.
very
Yeah.
nice. Not even his own sister's helping him out.
No,
Jeez.
she just says, "What now?
Yeah.
What do you possibly want now?" Yeah, poor Franklin. Shut up a little, but poor Franklin.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he rolls down the hill, falls out of his wheelchair. And then Kirk, he does a little spin around in there. There's quite a
Yeah.
strong gust
Mm.
that they
Yeah,
caused by
jeez.
the truck. I've never seen that before, but sure. Um, in the van. Now, Pam declares that
Mm.
Saturn is in
Oh.
retrograde. She's reading from her astrology book.
Mm.
Pam is the resident astrologist, and the
Yeah.
whole Saturn being in retrograde
Mm.
does come up a lot. There's the blood smear on the van done by the
Mm.
hitchhiker, and then we'll go, oh, what does it mean? What's its deep
Yeah.
significance? Is it the occult? There's a little bit of that in this film.
Mm.
There's the
Yeah.
suggestion that supernatural forces are at play, causing all of this
Yeah.
horror. Yeah, putting the victims into this
Mm.
fate as well.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a bit of a 70s thing
Yeah, it's
as well.
very
Yeah,
70s. Her
it's
going
very
on about
70s.
astrology. It feels very, very
Yeah,
70s. Yeah.
because they were looking for some answers and some hope
Mm.
whilst their country
Yeah.
falls to pieces. I
Yeah.
think, just like the spiritualism
Yes.
in the 1900s. Yeah, trying to deal with the
Mm. Yeah.
Industrial Revolution. Yeah, same sort of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, but Pam is definitely the
Yeah.
representative of all that in this. The fan arrives and stops at a cemetery. Now, Sally, Marilyn Burns, tells the locals gathered that her grandfather is buried in the vicinity, and then a tall, mustachioed stud, I think it might be the sheriff, goes, "Oh yeah, come with me, you little alien." Just grabs her. It's the
Yeah.
70s. There's a
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah.
that in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 70s.
Leads her to the old man's grave. I'm assuming she is checking to see if her
Yeah.
granddad has not
Yeah.
been robbed. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Because it also gives us a moment to have an old drunk man sitting on top of
Oh,
a
yeah.
tire,
Yeah. He's just hanging out.
portending doom,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. So, like, yeah,
horrible things happen
yeah.
here, but they're never
Yeah.
spoken of. Go for it.
Instead of us following Sally and seeing, like, her
Nah,
coming up
yeah,
to her grandfather's
yeah,
grave and
as you would in
finding
any other
out what
film.
happened
Yeah,
to it or not, the only reason why you know about the state that it was in is because she ends up having a conversation with Franklin, because the two of them are brother and sister. They have a conversation about, she's like, oh no, it's okay, like, they know what a disturbed grave would look like, and it didn't look like anything had been done to it. I didn't think anything had been done to it. It's fine. That's the only reason why you know what had happened, whether anything had happened to that
hmm
grave or not.
hmm
Because
hmm
instead of following her,
mm.
we're just
Mm.
hanging out with old drunkie.
Yeah. Loved it. Loved it though. Those are the sort of hooper choices that
Yeah.
I love. And Franklin talks about, we're back in the van. Franklin talks about his uncle's work in the slaughterhouse.
Yeah. Yeah,
Talking
because
about
they
the old
start,
way. Yeah.
yeah, because they start making comments about this bad smell as they're driving along. And then
That's
they
right.
see that
Yeah.
there's like old like slaughterhouse that they're going by, and that's why
Yeah.
Franklin started talking about it.
Yeah, and then we see some close up of the cows' faces, that
Yeah.
sort of thing, all
Mm.
cloistered together. Everyone is hot, sweaty, and annoyed in the van.
Yeah.
And then the hitchhiker arrives. Now, I do have this correct. He's only ever referred to as the
Only as the
hitchhiker,
hitchhiker.
and on IMDb, he is the hitchhiker. And let's get his name out there because he is fantastic. I really enjoyed his performance
Yeah, he's
on this
great.
rewatch. With this rewatch, Edwin Neal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's just run through the rest of the cast. Marilyn Burns, Sally, we've met her. There is Jerry and Sally, boyfriend, girlfriend. That is Alan Desinger. You have Kirk and Pam. Yeah, they're a couple. Kirk is William Vale and Pam is Terry McMinn. Paul A. Partain plays Franklin. Gunnar Hansen, of course, is Leatherface. Jim Sadow is Old Man, or also called Dad and gas station owner. Yeah. John Duggan, grandfather. Is there anyone else of importance?
No,
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah. John Larroquette does the voice narration.
Yeah.
Huh. He did then he did the at the start.
Yeah.
The starting voiceover.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know if you know John Larroquette. People my age know who he is from a show called Night Court, very
Oh,
like
okay.
old sitcom in the 80s. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's not important. I just spun out that was actually him. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so that's the cast. Just so you know, children. Hitchhiker arrives. Franklin and the Hitchhiker, Double H, I'm going to call them, discuss the old versus new way of slaughtering animals for work. And Double H actually mentions that the new way is taking people out of jobs as well. So that is actually brought up by a character. Double H shows Franklin his slaughterhouse Polaroids, which he carries around in his little animal fur pouch he wears around his neck. This guy's gross to look at, by the way. I would not let him into the van. Yeah.
It's so 70s that they're like driving along and they're like, oh, there's a hitchhiker. Let's stop and let him in because he's gonna die in this heat.
Yeah.
And it isn't until he starts being actively weird in the van that they start going, maybe we should get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
They just casually pick up this hitchhiker, which you wouldn't do today.
Yeah. 70s were kind of stupid
70s
as well.
all the time.
70s were kind of dumb as well. That's why the most famous serial killers of all time ran around going rampant for virtually a decade. And into the 80s as well. Yeah. It's silly. It's silly. Head cheese is discussed there, Dorian. Doesn't that sound delicious? Yeah. Basically, it's cow head turned into cheese without going into too much fucking details.
I mean, what he's describing, I'm like, that's just gelatin that
it's
you're
gelatin.
saying.
It's gelatin.
All of the leftover stuff, all of the like cartilage and joints and all that kind of stuff that isn't going to be sold as meat. That stuff gets boiled down in this big vat, and that's what gelatin's made of, if you don't know.
Those are your lollies.
He's seen a lot.
Cow face.
And then he's there saying that it's head cheese, which was one of the many working titles for this movie, Head Cheese. I don't think it's anywhere near as effective as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
God, no. This would have had a different legacy. Entirely. It wouldn't have been taken anywhere as seriously. Head cheese. I have heard that before, so thank you for bringing that up. It sounds fucking disgusting. I love cheese and I'm a meat eater, but I'm not eating that ever. He steals Franklin's knife and cuts himself just on his palm. So everyone's freaking out, but they haven't kicked him out of the van yet.
He takes a photo of Franklin.
He does, that's coming up next. He does take a Polaroid of Franklin and wants him to pay him for it. So this is where the real kind of menace, kind of like what the fuck are you up to, comes into play. Is his birthmark. I had a look at old man Edward Neil, whatever his name is, the actor. He doesn't have it in his IMDb picture. It looks like that's a bit of makeup there, Dorian.
Yeah.
It just struck me that it's
Yeah.
actually really good. Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah,
birth
yeah.
that that's some makeup. Yeah.
Mm,
And for until I basically looked it up this time round, I assumed it was because my sister,
mm,
Kotia, shout out,
mm.
has a big crescent moon birthmark on her
Oh yeah,
face
yeah.
as well. So I've seen that type of birthmark before.
Yeah.
Um, Franklin, I'm sorry, Double H is, yeah, he plays it well. He looks the
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Definitely puts you at her knees straight
Mm,
away. So he wants Franklin to pay for his Polaroid. Franklin doesn't. Double H places Franklin's pick. This is again
yeah.
weird, ritualistic,
Yeah.
almost occult-like
Mm,
activities in this film.
yeah.
He places Franklin's pick in tin foil with puts the photo on top of the tin foil. Then he puts gunpowder, I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
Yeah. It
which
looks like it's
it
gunpowder.
looks
Yeah.
like it.
Mm,
Lights it. Then he bunches up the tin foil while it's smoking, and
yeah.
then places it into his animal fur pouch that's
Yeah.
around his neck, much to the chagrin of the others in the
Yeah.
van. Now they're actually
Yeah.
properly reacting as they should. Double
Yeah.
H cuts Franklin with his knife. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's got
And
a straight razor.
yes, he's got his own straight razor. Yeah. And then gets kicked out of the van.
Yeah.
So there's almost like a blood pact was formed there
Yeah.
between him and
Mm,
Franklin. Yeah. He then smears the blood on the van when he's kicked outside when he's chasing
yeah.
after it. Yeah.
Mm.
And then blows raspberries
Yeah. Yeah.
as the
As
van
he's driving
drives
off.
away. So I can see why during the 70s with all this kind of new
Mm,
age spirituality kicking around and all that sort of
yeah.
thing, why they got freaked out after performing that strange little ritual
Yeah.
and doing the blood
Mm,
smear on the van. I
yeah.
can see the freak
Yeah.
out.
And then
There is the
of the lot of
yeah.
them as well, like Franklin is very obviously really, really freaked out by what happened
The
because he's
most.
the one that's
Yeah.
constantly asking to the annoyance of everyone else. Like everyone's like, shut the fuck up, Franklin, get over it. But he's
Yeah.
there like, like, do you think that that meant something? Was he trying to like, place like a curse on me? Is he going to track me down and get me? What's going on? He's really freaked out.
Mhm.
And, it isn't
Mhm.
just like a single scene that he's there saying that and then he never brings it up again. He's talking about it a fair bit.
Mhm. Yeah, 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 absolutely. Absolutely. Which is probably wiser to, yeah,
Hmm.
probably the wiser move than the others. Yeah. Um, Pam reads Franklin's horoscope.
Yeah.
Okay. Franklin is a Capricorn, as are my children, and Saturn is in retrograde. So they put it as something unexpected is about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at the gas station.
Hmm.
Yes, now
I love,
1974.
I,
The gas
this
station.
time round, I noticed the
Yeah.
guy who came along to like clean the van. And
What was with him?
I was laughing so hard at him because he was just sitting there and it wasn't until like the cook, like the gas station guy, the
Yeah,
owner,
Cook. Yeah,
barbecue
yeah, yeah,
kid,
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
comes out and approaches the van. And then that's when the guy comes up to the van and starts washing it.
Yeah, he enters
Cookie goes to
reality.
leave. Yeah, Cookie goes to leave. And then so the guy stops washing the van and goes back to sit where he's at. But then
But
barbecue cook comes back and he's like comes back to the van to talk to them again. So then this guy's come back. So basically he's only
yeah,
washing the van while the guy's actually there at the van talking with
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the moment he leaves as well and constantly just going back and forth. I was laughing so hard at it.
Because we enter the scene with him sitting on a tire. It's another
Yeah,
person just randomly
yeah,
sitting on a tire on the ground,
yeah. He's
staring
just
up at the
hanging
sun.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think didn't Hills Have Eyes, or was it the remake? Did a little homage to that. There was
Um,
some, yeah, I forget. There was someone just sitting staring up at the sun.
yeah.
Okay, if it comes to me, it
I
comes to
don't
me.
know.
There is a bit with the rocks, Leatherface being rocked in the head.
Mm,
Yeah, just like
yeah.
Stu did. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's little, I'm not sure if I'm reading
Mm.
too far into it, but there's little, yeah. And plus, as you've said, the DNA of Texas Chainsaw
Yeah.
is in horror throughout. Yeah, its
Yes.
inception.
Yes.
Okay, so yep, as you pointed out. Oh, we forgot to mention the Adorian, that the proprietor has no gas.
Yeah.
Gas station has no gas.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts
Because
has no
yeah, they're out.
donuts. The
Yeah.
haunt has
Yeah.
no blood.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Oh
what's
my God. That's one of the things we say to people passing by. Like, do you want to donate some blood? We
Yeah,
need some,
yeah.
please.
Yeah. We'll shout you out online.
Yeah.
He's got no gas, and he
Yeah.
says that
They're
it won't
getting
be a
a
long.
delivery either later that day or the next day.
Who knows?
Mm.
Yeah, they'll come when
We
they
got
come.
some barbecue though.
We
Come
got
have
some
some barbecue.
barbecue, some tasty barbecue. Yeah. Franklin asks where the Franklin's homestead is located, and him and Sally are brother and sister. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Um, and the proprietor warns the warning, and we'll determine throughout doing this who did it
Mm.
first. But so
Yeah.
far we have Cookie here as
Mm.
the earliest to give
Yeah.
them. Oh, you don't want to go up there.
I feel
Yeah.
it's a little bit different because he's essentially saying like, oh, but like that's an old abandoned house that, someone owns. Like you don't want to go wandering around where like
Yeah.
somewhere like that because that's dangerous. You could hurt yourself as opposed
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
a prophet of doom
Yeah, I
like
concede
Crazy
to that.
Ralph is.
I concede to that, but this is again the DNA of
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
those scenes
yeah.
moving forward. Yeah, definitely of this setup moving forward. Yeah. Back in the van, Franklin sees Double H's blood on his knife and wonders if he is capable of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like Hills there. That's the whole
Mm.
can savagery turn, the unsavage savage, the non-savage
Yeah.
savage. Yeah. Yeah. The girls, Pam and Sally, feel that there is some significance to the blood smear, an ominous portent of what is to come, possibly. Just building atmosphere here. Franklin's house
Yeah.
has an overgrown and ominous look to it. The houses in this film, which pretty much this one and the meat house, the family home, in the film, they're definitely characters unto themselves. Certainly the next one we come to. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This and I love house horror, and I love horror being situated primarily around one location.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the reasons why I love this so much, because this is, helped to form that trope, if you will. It's a movie about meat. Yes, it is, Tobey. Kirk sees black spiders scurrying in the corner of the room while Sally talks about her childhood zebras. This is in Franklin's family, the Franklin's family home. Those black spiders scurry, were they spiders, or was that like a digital effect somehow pulled off in camera?
Yeah.
You know the bit I
I don't
mean,
know.
yeah?
They kind of remind me of Daddy Longlegs,
That's
like
what I
spiders.
thought. Yeah, but
That's what
real
they look
black
like.
furry ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some
With
really
teeny
weird,
tiny spindly legs.
yeah, obscure, weird imagery is
Yeah.
achieved in this film, definitely and I assume all in camera. Doesn't
Yeah.
look a lot of post stuff in this, if
No.
any at all, apart from editing.
No.
I don't know. And on that note, in the future, we are certainly going to do a deep dive on this and go through everything there, children. Again, this is just getting through the horror iceberg so we can get to the stuff that we haven't seen. Yeah, effectively.
Yes.
Yes. Franken is left outside. He rolls himself in. And just like Double H, he blows raspberries. There's another thing that they share. Yeah. Pam and Kirk go up to the watering hole to swim. Franklin says, well, yeah, that's down there. Fuck off, leave me alone. Then Franklin finds an arabesque. You know what I mean by arabesque? Yeah, a nice fancy pattern design of things, of animal bones and feathers inside the Franklin house, which is what I found interesting. Yeah. So Double H, I would say, has been making his way around the neighborhood. Just an assumption of how that could possibly happen. But in a non-linear, rational way, it's basically the world of this family is closing in on them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kirk hears a generator. Kirk jokes about killing Franklin, like in quite an arsehole way of actually leaving him behind and coming back for him and shit. Yeah. Kirk's the jock, children. If you haven't seen it, he's the jock. Kirk hears a generator from neighboring house. The couple goes off to investigate. That's Pam and Kirk. Kirk knocks on the front door. It's the house they're at now, children. There is no answer. He sees a human tooth which seems to fall from up above. Yeah. He picks it up and creeps out Pam with it. Yeah, he's a jerk. Pam storms off and Kirk goes inside the house. Kirk hears here, Dorian, this is where the first instance where I was wondering if it was Leatherface making the animal noises because Kirk hears pig squealing from
Yeah.
inside. Yeah.
Mm.
And he investigates and goes inside. No pig is shown. No pig is
Yeah.
shown.
Yeah.
He sees the red room. You know what I mean by the red room? Yeah.
It's so iconic.
It's
Like it's so
beautifully
good
done.
because of
Yeah.
the way that it's shot, like
I should have had that as my
because
back. Yeah.
yeah, because like it's such a strong color within like that
Mm,
shot,
mhm,
and the fact that it's just through this open doorway,
mm,
and
mm.
so all that you can see of that is through that. And it's just so good,
Yeah,
so
and the
good.
skulls have been especially
Yeah.
presented. These are nice
Mm.
looking, strong
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
skulls, not the cracked
Yeah. Yeah.
detritus
They're
that's all
very
around this
much
house. Yeah, the
how
prized.
you would present trophies kind of thing, like
Yes,
hunting
yes,
trophies type thing. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, okay, so he goes in, Leatherface appears, knocks him out with his
Ah,
hammer,
he
and
just
then
comes out of
there's
nowhere
he
and
does
then
come out
just
of nowhere. Yeah, the famous door
ah,
slam, the
yeah. No,
chong.
he hits him over the head with the hammer,
Yeah,
and then Kirk falls to the ground and is there shaking and
yeah,
seizing,
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
like they
yeah,
were
yeah.
speaking about earlier when they were talking about killing animals in the
The
slaughterhouse.
cows, yes,
He's
very good.
behaving the exact same way as they
Yes.
do,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is essentially like that's what the family are doing to these people.
They're
They're
treating them
treating
like
them just
slaughter.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what they're
yeah.
doing.
Animals to be
Yeah, so
slaughtered.
he does
Yes.
that, just drags him in, and then just that
Good point. Thank
slam
you.
shot,
Yeah,
pulls shot,
absolutely.
and it's so good.
Yeah.
Leatherface just comes out of nowhere
Hmm.
so many times in this movie.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Hmm. But it's not presented like a jump scare.
No, no,
No, no, no, no. Yeah, it is more he just can appear from anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got the famous door slam,
Mm.
and then we have want a better way to put it there, Dorian, the famous ass shot of Pam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it is. Yeah,
We know, you know what
yeah,
I'm talking about.
yes.
And if you've seen Cabin Fever, Eli
Mm.
Roth rips it off. You'll see it in other movies, trust me.
Yes, yeah.
Um, famous ass shot of Pam walking up to house to
Mm.
look for Kirk. It's actually a beautiful little dolly shot as well, because
Yeah,
it's a mid shot down. It's actually a hero
mm.
shot from
Yeah, yeah, it
cinematography.
is.
The
Yeah.
cowboy with the guns, that's
Mm.
what Tobey's pulling off there. Not
Yeah,
let's look at her ass as it
yeah.
became Eli. But hey.
Mm.
She stumbles inside. She goes inside the house and she stumbles into the indoor chicken coop, is what I've called it.
Yeah, there's
Some
just
sort of lounge.
feathers all
Feathers and
over the
bones.
floor.
And there's a chicken in a small bird cage.
Yeah,
Far too
yeah,
fucking small for it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
She
that's
see
battery hens for you.
it's battery
Exact
hens.
same
So
thing.
it's a bit of a pro-vegetarianism
Yeah,
movie.
it
This movie.
is. It
It's the
is. Yeah,
70s where that sort of thing was
yeah.
being introduced again into society. So definitely.
Yeah.
Now here's the little tribute to Ed Gein. We see that figure
Mm,
sitting on the couch, an elongated human-esque like figure made out of animal bones and human
yeah.
bones. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the Ed Gein moment by
Yeah.
far, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks
But like the
fucking
thing is that
fantastic.
like, yeah, it looks so cool.
Yeah, I'd have it in my
So it's
house
like, yeah,
by
exactly. So it's
far.
like
All cleaned
in
out and shit, but
in the
yes.
same way that like me going through like a horror maze type thing,
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm not getting like freaked out by the vibes and
No,
the
no, no,
decor
no,
and the
no, no.
way
I'm
everything
taking
looks. I'm just there
photos.
going, this is really cool. I love
Yeah, and
all
taking
of
fucking
this.
photos.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
not getting like
Yeah.
creeped out by it or
No,
disturbed.
no, I love the production design in this.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's so
I'd
good.
want to spend the day, take all the photos. You're like,
Yeah,
can I move in here?
yeah, yeah.
It's fucking awesome. I get that where the actors were coming from,
Mm,
after,
yeah,
a couple of weeks in the heat
yeah,
of all of
exactly.
this.
Yeah.
But my God, it's good. And like the remake, like the 2003 one, it didn't get it. It doesn't
No,
get all this. No,
it still feels too artificial. That's the
it's still
thing.
too
This
artificial. They're
one
trying to
feels,
bump up the
yeah,
brutality and the
yeah,
muscle of it and all that and the
entirely missing the
noise.
point. Yeah, and they're
Yeah,
missing the
yeah,
point of what made the original so
yeah,
effective.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is America losing its goddamn mind,
Yeah.
not just some hick family out
Mm,
for kicks killing kids.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as the 2003 one was. Yeah. But anyway, that's beside the point. Pam dry retches violently and goes to leave. She is caught by Leatherface and placed on a meat
Yeah.
hook inside
Yeah.
his slaughter kitchen. Once you go through the red room,
Oh,
then you're in a
yes.
slaughter kitchen, of
Yes.
course.
This,
Yeah,
I
please.
think that this scene is like the best example of the violence isn't shown, but you know exactly what it is that's happened
Absolutely.
because you
Absolutely.
see the meat hook
Yeah.
and he's grabbed her and
Mhm.
he hangs her on that meat hook through her back. She's still alive. She's hanging on that, but you
Mhm.
never see it actually go into her back. But
No, you don't.
you know
Yeah.
that that's what's just happened.
And that the shock of that moment is
Mm.
compounded upon when she is forced to watch her
Yeah,
boyfriend be
yeah,
cut the fuck up by
yeah,
Leatherface in front of
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
cutting up, some meat, some food,
yeah.
packing it up.
That is good filming. That is
Yeah.
shooting a good scene. Absolutely. Jerry, Pam, and Franklin are at the van. Franklin freaks out about Saturn being in retrograde and the double H and the hitchhiker's
Mm.
blood smear. Jerry is walking, looking for Kirk and Pam, and that's with the sun, the lens flare, the generator noise,
Mm.
the weird symbol clashes, because there's all this mise en scene that's adding to this
Yeah.
environment. Yeah,
Mm.
those are some
Yeah.
classic examples there. Jerry hears weird animal noises again coming from inside the house. So again, laying another trap, I
Mm.
am thinking. He
Yeah.
enters and goes into Leatherface's slaughter's kitchen. So he's entered the home. He
Mm.
finds Pam in a freezer. And again,
Yeah.
going on your animal metaphor, slaughtered
Yeah.
animal metaphor, the way she actually wakes up in the freezer is like a shocked, traumatized
Mm.
animal. So that's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Close up of Gunner. He finds Pam in the freezer and is then
Oh,
knocked
yeah.
out by Leatherface. Then we get the close up of Gunner Hansen as Leatherface. You know the
Mm.
shot I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah.
can see his leather face real nice
Hmm.
up close. You can see
Hmm.
his actual face underneath it through like the
Hmm.
holes. You can see his mouth and all that. And he's just there. He's having a crisis. It looks like he's having a bad
He's
time.
freaking the fuck out. This is too much for him to
Yeah.
deal with.
Head in
Yeah,
his hands, like, oh my
he's
God,
yeah,
kind of thing.
because he is like a small child as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
He is
Who
not a
are all these
trained
people coming in?
murderer. Yeah, he's not an
Yeah.
experienced serial killer or anything.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
No, he gets humans brought to him one at a time that he can prepare for dinner. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
there
all of a
to cook the
sudden,
turkey. Yeah,
yeah, all of a sudden, all these people are just bursting into his house.
yeah. He's infantilized.
Hmm.
He's emasculated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he is not the overall villain of this
Hmm.
piece. He is the
Yeah.
most physically effective,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
isn't. But yeah, no, he not saying he's a victim either because
Hmm.
he's a killer,
Hmm.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
he's not the big bad. He's not the overall
Yeah.
evil. He's not like the shape of Michael
Yeah. Yeah.
Myers.
Yeah.
No, it's
He's
not that
he's very
scenario.
much he's very much just a product of his circumstances.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Like it's not something that at the very least, like in this version of him, um, you don't get the sense that this is like he knows exactly what it is that he's doing in terms of like morality and all that
Mm.
kind of thing because like
Mhm.
as this is just normal for him
Yeah,
just
totally. Yeah,
based
yeah, 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 yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
because yeah there's the implication in terms of like his
Mm.
intellectual capabilities and then also the environment that he grew up in those combined then it's like well
That's
he's doing the best he
interesting
can.
because Grandpa was the best at whacking. Yeah, best at giving them
Yes.
a whack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the wife is dead, and then you have Cook, Dad,
Yeah.
who can't abide killing. He's
Yeah.
just the cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is a family, what's the word, family tradition thing
Yeah.
that's certainly passed down. That like Dad learned this from Grandpa.
Yeah.
Dad's passing it on to the others as well. So yeah, this is all the morality within the universe of the family because nothing else
Yeah.
exists for them. Um, so Jerry's in the house. Yes, he gets knocked the fuck out by Leatherface. Close up of Gunnar Hansen. Yes, I just wanted to say that the teeth were not real. They were fake teeth. Found that out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I don't know, I would have believed they were real. I would have
Yeah, they
believed they
do
were
look
real.
really
Yeah, they're
good.
really good,
They
aren't they?
look a
Yeah.
lot more believable as teeth than the teeth in Abigail.
There you go.
That's my
Uh,
one gripe about that movie.
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, yeah. And I watched it as we've discussed off here.
Yeah.
It's fun, children. It's definitely worth checking out. It's a fun vampire romp, absolutely. Cut to Blue Moon at Night. I'm throwing the moons in there because there is a type of punctuation that is used with the shots of the moon, which is also used in other films as well, including Hills Have Eyes.
Mm.
Pam and Franklin at Van. They panic over their friend's whereabouts. Well, Jerry's anyway. The siblings fight over the flashlight. That's Pam and Franklin. Sally wants to find Jerry. Sally pushes Franklin through the undergrowth because this is when Franklin's just complaining. Sally's tired. So they basically both end up going to look for the others. Yeah. They find the Sawyer family home, and it's not called Sawyer, as we pointed out. That comes later, just like the hockey mask. Leatherface appears from the bushes again, appearing like that
Yeah,
out of
just out of
nowhere.
nowhere,
Out of
just
nowhere.
right in your
It's
face
cut.
with
Cut.
that
Oh, he's there.
chainsaw.
Yeah. He's sneaky. He's stealthy,
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
Indian,
For a big
like
boy,
an
he's
American
very
Indian.
quiet.
Um, and he cuts Franklin the fuck up.
Yeah.
Franklin's not quiet about it. Franklin's not quiet. Never was in his life.
No, never.
Now we're getting into the famous chase scenes, and this is where my friend at my old course told me to come out and shut the fuck up, having to hear it for the 50th time in one day. Leatherface chases Sally, and it's through thorn bushes, undergrowth filled with thorny bushes. Yeah. I do know that Gunnar and Marilyn got cut the fuck up filming this scene. Yeah, they just went for it for real 70s filmmaking, but also just that acting in horror and independent film. You want to achieve something, don't have the budget for it. Well, let's just do it anyway. You know what I mean? So respect there. Tobey was not an abusive director. He was not an tier asshole like some of the others. Leatherface chases Sally. Sally runs into the Sawyer's house. She runs upstairs and finds the grandparents sitting in their respective lounge chairs. This was a freaky ass scene, yeah. So there's grandma.
Grandma is just there.
Yeah, and they're both and not both of them are not dead. One of them's still alive. One of them is, which we'll find out soon.
The one that's still alive looks dead though.
Good God, Grandpa's disgusting. So gross.
Oh my God.
So gross. After seeing the grandparents though, Sally's not impressed. And Leatherface has cut himself through the front door, so she decides to jump out the window. Yeah, I mean, run.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, she just straight up jumps out the window. This is not on the first floor of the house. No. But yeah, Leatherface is cutting up the front door, and it's so funny later on because when Cook he's like, oh, look what your brother did to the door. He's so mad. He's so mad about the fact that he's cut the door up with a chain. It is absolutely destroyed.
It's funny. It is funny. There are definitely moments of intentional humor, and that is in this film, and that is one of them, definitely. So Sally, she jumps out of the window 2 stories, gets back up, runs back into the night. Leatherface gives chase. All right. Yep. Sally runs to the gas station. She's back at the gas station. Leatherface is close behind. Cook calms her down in terms of what Sally knows and what we know. At that point in time,
we have no idea.
Still the proprietor of the gas station. Yeah, absolutely. There is no phone, no gas. I don't know what the fuck they're up to there, but they need to drive over to the Childress house. Now this was for a moment there, Dorian. I went, is that the name of the family? Or is he just mentioning randomly others in the neighborhood?
Probably just random others.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask just to cover the bases.
Yeah. Just to have a reason for her to trust him and get in the car.
Actually say a name, sure. Children, popcorn. If you know, write us. Yeah, if you do know something that we don't. Sally spies. So he's gone out. He's gone out to get the truck. Yeah.
Mm.
And then Sally sees this is genius, this moment.
Yeah.
Sally spies the barbecue cooking. You can't quite
Mhm.
tell what type of
Yeah.
meat it is, but she does hear the grave robbing report on the radio is played
Mm.
over her looking at the barbecue again, which was fucking great.
Yeah.
Cook arrives with truck and sack for Sally, and he just walks in with the
Yeah.
sack smiling. Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You ready? Shall we go? She's like, what are you doing? She's scared, but and also like kind of what?
Yeah.
But that's okay because the cook beats Sally down with the trusty broom. Again,
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
Hills Have Eyes comparison. He knocks her the fuck out with a sweeping broom, yeah, for a front
I
porch.
mean, sure. Sure, why
It's not a
not?
perfect movie. It's not a perfect. No movie's perfect, and this is just one of those. There's a couple of slightly goofy
Yeah.
moments in this film. That's one
Mm.
of them. Yeah, it has to be stated.
Yeah.
Um, but he ties Sally up, puts her in the back of the truck. But he has to turn the lights off first. He stops, gets out, turns the lights off. Oh, the electricity bills
Yeah,
nowadays.
exactly.
But that's also economic collapse.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter about the fact he's just abducted someone to turn
Yeah.
into mincemeat. It's
Because
about
it's not as though
the
they have
power bill.
solar electricity.
No, they do
So
not. No, they do not. And they're not all full-time. They don't all have
yeah.
full-time jobs here or anything
Yeah.
like that, or government pensions.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, no gas, no phone. Dad pokes Sally with a sorry, Cook pokes Sally with a stick as he drives towards the
Yeah.
Childress's house. Yeah. In the front, just
Yeah.
grinning away.
Yeah.
He's a sadistic bastard, is Cook.
Yeah.
Uh,
But he can't abide killing.
but he can't abide killing. He would just let his son do it, like Hitchhiker on the
Yeah.
road here, who he finds in a cost for being at the slaughterhouse and graveyard and almost giving the game away and messing with
Yeah.
the food supply. Yeah, and also for leaving his brother alone at home, and they'll come home and he look what he's done to the goddamn
Yeah.
fucking front door.
It's so
Um,
good. I just love the line delivery on that.
yeah, it's great.
So good.
He's in the second one, isn't he? Isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. And he goes to
Yeah.
the chili meat,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, competition and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's great. He's great because he's fucking hilarious in that one. He goes,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
full tilt. So yeah, Dad's just telling off the children at this point. Is when he's coming home. Probably happens most nights. But Hitchhiker ties Sally up to a chair and just generally torments her. Now,
Mm.
the camera work starts getting really kinetic around this time, and the
Yeah.
camera work has been great throughout, but it really starts ramping up at this point to show the hysteria and the despair and the chaos of everything that's going inside, felt by everyone. Now, okay, so Sally wakes up at the dinner table, as I pointed out before, sees a chicken, then sees the Mad Hatter meat
Yes.
dinner table.
Crazy tableau.
The meat family, the crazy tableau.
Yes.
And it's fantastic, and they're all tormenting her. But Grandpa is brought down for supper, of course.
Yeah.
Bones hang from the ceilings everywhere. Sally's finger is cut and Grandpa gets to suck on it like some sort of a
It's
parrot.
so gross. So gross.
Yeah. And shout out to Marilyn Burns, respect to Marilyn
Oh
Burns for the
yeah.
reaction,
God.
because she's got this
Yeah.
kind of with her eye and a
Yeah,
sideways
she
tilt
has
of her
this
head. Just
crazy.
what
Oh
the fuck?
God.
Yeah, really good work there.
Yeah.
Cut to a blue moon. Yeah, again, another punctuation of a full moon here. Sally wakes up to dinner sounds. Okay, here it is. Yep. Sally wakes up to dinner sounds and the sight of a dead chicken. Camera reveals the Mad Hatter of meat dinner scene. Hitchhiker tells Dad that he and Leatherface do all of the work and he is only the cook. There's a bit of insurrection that goes on here, Dorian. Dad cannot abide killing. Hitchhiker declares that Grandpa should get a whack because he is the best at killing. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hitchhiker's been like the worst in terms of tormenting Sally, and Cook is just like, no, like I'm sick of this. Stop torturing her like this. Just get it over with. Like, I'm fed up with how long this is getting dragged out for. Just end it already.
Hmm.
Because, Hitchhiker's just dragging it out and just tormenting her. And he's like, no,
Hmm.
stop it. And
Yeah.
Leatherface is in his like he's gotten dressed up. He's made himself pretty.
Hmm. Hmm. But and he's getting upset about the family fighting,
Yeah, he
mum and
is.
dad
Yeah.
bickering, so to speak,
Yeah.
as
He
well.
got
Yeah.
he got banished into the kitchen at one point when they were having
Yeah.
an argument. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
He
get back
does.
into the kitchen and keep preparing supper
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
so very
Yeah.
much delegated to that feminine position.
Yeah. And if you listen to his, he does a few vocal animalistic sounds towards
Mm.
dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Very similar to the pig sounds
Mm.
that you hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I reckon again it was him.
Mm.
Um, Sally is placed over the tub. Grandpa set up to get the whack, but Grandpa
Oh,
needs help because Grandpa is
it's
beyond an
so
invalid.
it's
Yeah,
so
and is
funny.
dropping the
It's
hammer
so
constantly. Yeah.
Oh my God. Because he's barely alive. He is a corpse.
Yeah.
And they're just giving him this heavy hammer and expecting him to be able to hold it to begin with. He can't even do that, let alone hit her over the head with it. And it's just constantly trying and it's failing. And it's too funny. Like, it's really fucked up. And yet,
Yeah.
you can't help but laugh at it
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's like so
And
ridiculous.
you're laughing and definitely
Yeah.
just reeling at the ridiculousness and
Yeah.
the high pace kinetic chaos,
Yeah.
screaming, and the camera work's going all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's no actual real blood or gore being
No.
administered here or seen. It's just
Yeah.
the reaction to everything else,
Yeah.
emphasized by the camera work. But Sally actually gets up and manages
Yeah.
to run
Because
away
because
out of the
there's a
house.
scuffle. Yeah.
There's a
There's a
scuffle,
bit of
yeah.
there's a struggle there
Mm.
because they're trying to help Grandpa. It's like, okay, look, we'll hold
Yeah,
on to his hand so
yeah,
then to
yeah,
help
yeah,
him actually hold it and then help him do it from that. So they're helping him to try to actually hit her. So
yeah,
they're able to get a bit of a hit because she does have like blood on her face. She's been injured.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
during that whole thing, she's managed to just barely slip out, and that's how she's
Yeah.
able to escape and run away.
And how does she run away? She
Screaming,
jump.
of course, and then she
No,
jumps out a window. At
she
least
jumps
this
out a
time
window.
it's on the first floor.
It's on the
It's on
first
the
floor. And
at
again,
least there's
just
that.
running jump.
Yeah, just full tilt.
$6 million man style.
Screaming the entire time.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Marilyn Burns in terms of scream queens, like
God.
being able to
Yes,
actually
she's the
scream
ultimate scream queen. Yeah.
of an
The
actual
amount of
screamer.
screaming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also, during the dinner scene, I really
Mm.
liked the way that it just, in terms of it feeling so chaotic and just the sheer terror that she was feeling because of that extreme close up on her eye and the way, like,
Yeah,
I really, really like that
yeah,
part of it.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh,
That
like
was great.
Marilyn
That was good.
Burns is
Yeah.
incredible.
That's where the sound suddenly gets really
Mm,
weird. It gets
yeah,
really choppy. Yeah, there's the two or
yeah,
three close-ups on her eye.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Really,
Um,
really well done in terms of just,
Hitchhiker's goes
yeah,
off in that moment. He
yeah,
goes really
yeah.
berserk. Yeah.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
terms of
no.
conveying the
Mm,
pure
mhm.
chaos
Yeah,
and terror,
yeah,
it's so good. Well done so well.
yeah. The dinner scene is definitely one of my favorite scenes
Mm,
from any horror and one
yeah.
of my favorite scenes
Mm,
from any movie. Just
yeah.
like I think this is one of the best horror movies and one of the best movies ever made,
Mm,
period. Out
yeah.
genre
Mm,
regardless. Yeah. So yeah, so she's run out the window and Hitchhiker gives chase
yeah.
first. Leatherface soon follows.
Yeah.
Did you like
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's run when he
Yeah.
chases her? It's like it's
Yeah.
actually laughing. He's fucking with her,
Yeah.
totally fucking with her.
Yeah. And
It's
I mean
really
she's still screaming.
she's still
She's
screaming.
running and she's still screaming.
He's got his razor blade out now though, and is
Yeah.
cutting her, slicing her
Mm,
as he's
yeah,
running
yeah.
after her, cackling and
Yeah.
waving his arms around the inflatable
Yeah.
wobbly man from the
Yeah,
gas
yeah,
station.
yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre, bonkers. I don't have enough adjectives for insanity to describe
Yeah,
some of the scenes in this movie. But we're up to the big climax.
yeah.
Yeah. Double H cuts Sally as she runs out onto the street, the main road. Yeah.
Yes.
And then he gets bowled over by a big truck.
Yes.
He's basically
It's a big truck.
cut, stat,
Yeah, it's
looks in the other direction. Oh,
yeah.
arms up, boom.
Also,
please.
The truck itself, judging by the big trailer that the truck is carrying and what that looks like, I'm assuming that it is that truck is a truck that transports animals to slaughterhouses.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. That's
By the
cool.
looks of it, it
Yeah.
was empty, so it would have been after dropping off
Yeah,
its
I
cargo.
think you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, so another
Yeah.
little thing involved with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
like it manages to avoid Sally, but Hitchhiker goes under those wheels.
Yeah, totally.
It's so good.
It is good. It
Like,
is
right,
good.
he's done.
Yeah. Now Driver and Sally run from Leatherface. Yeah, because the driver
so
has
the
stopped.
driver
Yeah.
stops.
Yeah.
Sally is able to get in.
Yeah.
Leatherface is caught up to them. They've closed the door. He's there cutting at, getting the door, but they've gotten out the other side through the other door. And so she's escaped through there. The driver's done so as well. He's got a wrench though. Before he left the cabin of the truck, he got a wrench with him. And he's able to hit Leatherface over the head with it. And Leatherface goes down. He's got his chainsaw with him. That chainsaw is running. Saw lands on his leg and cuts his leg with that saw. And he doesn't get his leg cut off, but he does get injured. He gets hurt. But during that, they're able to, that's enough of a pause that another truck, like a pickup truck, comes along, and then Sally's able to get in the back of that pickup truck just before Leatherface gets her. Like, as in, if it was 1 second later, he would have grabbed her.
Yeah.
And then
and it's mostly
the driver of the other truck, he's run off. He's bolted. He's gone.
He said that made me laugh.
He survived.
He wasn't a thin lad either, but he was off.
Fuck this, I'm out. And then, so the truck's going off, and it's the iconic ending moment where you have Sally just screaming still as she's being driven off.
Not just screaming, she's screaming, laughing. She's in hysterics,
because it's hysterical,
maniacal, hysterical laughter at this point.
She's just everything that's happened, her brain is just completely just detached itself from anything, and it's just.
And if I'm not mistaken,
screaming, laughing, all this blood. They had to do reshoots for that. And it was like, are you kidding me? After all of that we just had to do.
Yeah.
Like, So, but
indie
so that's
film
happening.
In the 70s.
Yeah. And then you have Leatherface there swinging that chainsaw around as the sun is setting, and it's so
like
beautiful.
A ballet dancer doing a pirouette.
And and that's how the movie ends. But like the ending for that the one that came out last year on Netflix. Was it last year?
Yeah, 22.
The ending for that one was so funny. Like, it was so clearly like a direct homage to the ending of the original film.
Yeah.
But it was just too funny because there's the two sisters, and they've got that like smart car that has the auto driving thing. Like, he's managed to like drag one of the sisters out and has decapitated her. So he's there holding like the decapitated like head as the car has its auto drive mode initialized and is driving away. The other sister is sticking out the sunroof just as it's being driven away. She's just like screaming because her sister's just been murdered in front of her, decapitated in front of her. And this auto driving car is just driving away as that's happened. Oh my God, it was so funny. Like, it was obvious that they were doing like a direct reference to the ending of the original film. But it was just so ridiculous.
For the Google age.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, that film wasn't bad. I enjoyed this slaughter of influences with inside the bus.
On the bus.
That was great. That was great. There was some moments of good bloodshed, of mutilation in that film. But back to this film, back to the original. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's great. Yeah, I do
Yes.
think there's moments of comedy. There's a couple of moments
Mm,
of goofiness. No film's
yeah.
perfect, but I think it deepens with time and becomes more relevant with time. You find out more nuances each time that you watch it. It's a very complicated film for such a simple
Mm,
premise
yeah.
as well. All of the performances are great. The camera work's great. The production design is probably my favorite production design in
Mm,
any film ever,
yeah.
to be perfectly honest. It's the type of thing I try to attain in theaters, what
Mm,
they achieved within this house. Yeah.
yeah.
So this
Yeah.
film does mean a fuck of a lot to me. I think Antonian Artaud, my theatre hero for Theatre of Cruelty is the book he wrote.
Mm, yeah.
He would have loved this. He would have seen this as an exercise in theatrical cruelty, which
Yeah.
isn't about creating bloodshed just
Mm,
quickly. It's about going to the limit, to the extreme, beyond discipline to create moments, to create scenarios, to create movies or plays, whatever
mm,
like this. Yeah. I think he would have been very proud of this film. Definitely very foundational for me.
mm,
Um, in terms of art and general taste in general, but certainly horror, absolutely. And yeah, just talking about it with you has made me love it even more,
yeah.
definitely. So Dorian, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 for me. Yep,
Ah,
this movie's
yeah.
perfectly evil. Yeah. What say you there, Dorian?
Yeah, I give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Yeah. I think I need to watch the rest of the franchise because this
Mm,
movie does mean a lot to me.
yeah.
And I think I'm falling more into, I don't know if it's an age thing or
Mm,
just this, how you change taste every seven
yeah.
years, that sort of thing, however it works. I'm definitely reaching another 70s
Yeah.
horror
Oh,
tone
yeah, yeah.
aesthetic age at the moment, I
Yeah.
think, with this and The Conjuring and blah, blah, blah.
Mm,
Yeah, 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 yeah. So 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, children, just Google it.
yeah.
Look it up. Fuck it, I'll say it. Prime Wire. Yeah, look it up
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
can't afford the streamers. You must see this film however you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so the
It's
legacy
yeah.
persists. Yeah.
It's not a long movie. It's 83
No,
minutes. That's
it's
100.
83
That's an
minutes. Yeah.
hour
Yeah.
23.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not a
Yeah.
long movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just fucking great. It is just fucking great. And I think I might buy the game. I think this might be the
Yeah.
one that makes me bite the bullet
Yeah.
and gets me into horror gaming because I need to do it for the podcast. I need to do
Yeah.
it for the podcast. So I think this would
Oh,
be a good one to start. Yeah.
yes.
I
Yes.
think this would be a good one to start.
Oh,
Whew, yeah, okay. And we are going to, I will do a deep dive. I mean, you're welcome to be
mm,
involved in the future there, Dorian, if you like. But in the future, I am going to do a deep dive because there's so much history and
yeah.
information to this
Yeah.
outside of what actually happens in the movie as
Mm,
well. Could be a whole franchise thing, maybe. I don't know. I'll think about it. But
yeah.
we will touch on this movie in the future. So, Bandy, I know you're listening. Love you. Both love you. And we will both have you back, yeah? To
Yes.
go through it again,
Yes.
to talk Saw, as Saw is family. Yes.
Yes.
Cool. What are we doing next, Dorian? Do you
Um,
remember?
I don't know.
Let's have a look.
I don't think we actually planned.
Dun, dun, dun. Do you see, just vamping while we're both doing that, do you see that Flanagan will be directing an
Mm.
Exorcist film, but it's nothing to do with the David Gordon Green trilogy.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's going to be a separate
Yeah.
Exorcist film.
Yeah.
That's all of the information I think that's been let out at the
Cool.
moment. Are you keen on that?
It's Flanagan, so
Yeah, it's Flanagan.
automatically.
If there was going
I
to
also
be
saw
anyone
that
to touch The Exorcist,
yeah,
I feel it should be
yeah.
him.
I also saw that Blumhouse is wanting to breathe some new life into and bring back the My Bloody Valentine.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You keen on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've I mean, we've only it's not as though that's something that's just been like absolutely overused or overdone or anything like that. I mean, there was that like
Hmm.
remake that had Jensen Ackles in it and it was in 3D.
I
And
think I saw that during that time. It was
yeah,
another one of those
yeah. So
fucking
like it
3D
wasn't,
movies. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't good. There was some really fun kills in it, but overall it wasn't that good. But like I
I
like the
think I saw
original.
it. I've
Yeah.
never seen the original, full disclosure.
Oh,
That's
it's
another one
good.
I
It's
need to
worth
see.
watching.
Yeah, I do need to see it.
Yeah.
Blumhouse concerns me because Blumhouse is in a
Yeah.
concerning time.
Yeah.
They're in a concerning period of
Yes.
output at the moment. Anything else that's popped up that I can think of? I think that there was nothing new, as we've covered a lot recently. Okay, so we have done Texas,
I
done
reckon
Hills. Ooh,
I reckon we should do House of Thousand Corpses
to
next.
follow on from
Because
Texas,
that
as it's yeah,
feels very heavily
it's a
inspired
it's a
by,
TCM baby, or just slightly,
yes. Yeah.
just fucking slightly. And I've
Yeah.
been wanting to rewatch it again and rewatch
Mm,
Rob Zombie
yeah.
films again. Then we can discuss the whole Rob Zombie hate. Is it valid or not as a
Yeah.
filmmaker? Because
Oh,
that's
that'll
a
be good.
whole fucking thing. Yeah,
Yes, because I've seen every single one of his movies,
I have.
including The Haunted World of El Superbeasto.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, yeah, I've
I've
seen
seen that
that.
one.
That's
Yeah,
great.
which is
Yeah.
usually the one that people have not even heard of.
Okay, no, I've seen that one. I
I've
thought
seen
you were
that
going to
one
say
multiple times.
I thought you were going to say Munsters. I haven't seen the
Oh, I
Munsters
have. Oh,
because I've been avoiding. Yeah.
there was some choices made
Mm,
for that.
mm.
Yeah. Like,
Because I,
like the fun
yeah,
campiness of the monsters,
yeah, of
they
course,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
went
Grew up with
way
it.
too
Yeah,
hard. They
yeah.
leaned way too hard
Mm,
into that to the point where it just wasn't
okay.
fun.
All right.
And yeah, Sherry Moon was absolutely atrocious in it. She was so bad.
Mm.
And she's Lily.
Because I like Rob Zombie and I
Mm,
like a good deal of his films. Yeah, I
yeah.
really like Lords of Salem big time.
Yeah, Lords of Salem's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the shit. But there is some truth to his detractors and
Mm,
what they say
yeah.
about him.
Yeah.
And
A
he's
lot of,
leaning
yeah.
more into that with
Yeah.
Munsters. And
Yeah.
31, it was starting to slip for me with
Mm,
31.
yeah.
Yeah.
The main problem with Rob Zombie is that he tends to basically just write the same characters over and over again, regardless of the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
And
he
it's very
does.
much like
Yeah.
white trash, hillbilly kind of
Members of his
vibe.
band, writing them like they're
Yeah.
members of his
And it's
band.
pretty much the
Yeah.
same thing every single time. And
Yeah.
if that's
Yeah.
not something that you're into, then you're gonna fucking hate almost every single one of his movies.
Yeah. 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 But there's some great creativity, there's
Oh
great
yeah.
energy, there's a lot of fun
Mm.
behind these films, a lot of
Especially,
love and
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Especially House of Thousand Corpses. Like you
Yes.
can really,
Yes.
really tell that his background is in music videos.
Music
Because
videos.
that one
Yes.
is
Yes.
pretty much a music video. But we'll get
Absolutely.
into it. We'll get into it more when we actually cover
Yeah.
it. But there is
Yeah.
partially a reason as to why it looks the way that it does, relating to its production history,
hmm hmm hmm
what went on during production.
And that's a
So
teaser. That's a teaser, children. Yes, let's discuss that next week. And follow us to keep up with everything that we are doing on the Facebook and the
yes.
Instagram. At Evil Popcorn Podcast, as well as the YouTube, of course, as well. Do comment on what we are saying, whether you agree, disagree, love us, hate us, blah, blah, blah. It's a way to create engagement and create a community, a culture. So we can talk about what was discussed on Discord and me not having to sound like Logan Paul to you all. He's a good wrestler, I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, so that's what we're doing next. Fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's done there, Dorian.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's all. I don't think we need to cover
Yeah.
anything else. There's no real
No.
big news. I haven't watched that much recently, except for
No.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last of Us is great. If you haven't seen it, I'm tragically late.
I watched it as it was coming out.
Yeah, yeah, no, I liked it.
Yeah.
Episode 3 was quite
Mm.
fantastic.
Oh,
The
yeah.
big
Yeah.
episode. No, I was really
Mm.
impressed by that. That guy
Yeah.
from Parks and Rec, the
Yeah.
big
Nick
hunter,
Offerman.
manly
Yeah.
man guy.
Yeah. Nick
Wow.
Offerman's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, sir, you are really good. You're fucking
Yeah.
talented. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But otherwise, thank you, Dorian, for joining. I will see you, let's say next Thursday. I'm filming a short film, acting in a short film this weekend, so I won't be at Evil
Ooh.
Corp. Shout out to Evil Corp. I'll talk more about it when it's closer to coming out as well. And so I'll see you Thursday around the same
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
for yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses. Yes. All right, children, this has been Mr. Popcorn. Say goodnight, Dorian.
Good night, Dorian.
We are evil popcorn. Keeping it bloody. Peace. All right, cool. Let me stop the recording. Whoa.